The alarm blared through the International Space Station harmony. Captain Tae-ho Kim dropped his coffee mug, watching it float away as he rushed to the command center. "What's happening?" he asked, grabbing the back of Jun's chair. Jun pointed at the screen. "Something entered our solar system. It's not one of ours." On the monitor, a strange object moved toward Earth. It was unlike any satellite or spacecraft humans had built. Its shape reminded Tae-ho of a giant silver leaf, with blue lights pulsing along its edges. "It's broadcasting," said Mina, the communications officer. Her fingers flew across her keyboard. "In multiple languages, including ours." Tae-ho stared at the screen. "What does it say?" "Help us. We are damaged. We come in peace." For 24 hours, world leaders argued about what to do. Some wanted to shoot the spacecraft down. Others wanted to welcome it. In the end, they decided on a rescue mission, and they chose Captain Tae-ho Kim to lead it. "This is history," said Dr. Han, the mission director, during the final briefing. "The first confirmed contact with beings from another world. Proceed with extreme caution." Tae-ho nodded, but his mind was racing with a million questions. What did these beings look like? Did they breathe air? Would they be friendly? 3 hours later, Tae-ho's small team approached the alien craft in their rescue vessel. Up close, the damage was clear. A large section of the ship's side was torn open, revealing strange machinery inside. "Hello," Tae-ho broadcast, following the protocol they had established. "We are here to help. Can you respond?" At first, there was silence. Then a voice came through, speaking in slightly strange but understandable English. "We thank you, Earth vessel. Our engines are failing. We need safe harbor." Tae-ho guided his ship closer. "We can help tow you to our station. That would be acceptable." As they attached cables to the alien ship, Tae-ho saw movement inside the damaged hull. Something was watching him through the tear, something that didn't look human at all. Back at the space station, everyone held their breath as the airlock connected to the alien ship opened. Tae-ho stood at the front, with security officers beside him. The beings that emerged were nothing like humans had imagined aliens might be. They were tall and slender, with skin that looked like polished crystal. Light seemed to move under their surface, giving them a glow that shifted colors slightly as they moved. They had 2 arms and 2 legs, but their faces had no nose, only large almond-shaped eyes that shimmered with intelligence. "I am Gul," said the first being, bowing slightly. "Speaker for the Na'vi. We thank you for your assistance." "I am Captain Tae-ho Kim," Tae-ho replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Welcome to Earth's orbit." 5 Na'vi had emerged from their ship. They moved with strange grace, as if they weighed nothing. Their eyes darted around, taking in everything. "Our ship suffered damage escaping the Vorx Empire," Gul explained. "We have traveled far seeking new allies." "The Vorx Empire?" asked Mina, who had joined them. "Expansionists, conquerors," said Gul. "They seek to control all worlds in their path." Tae-ho noticed something odd. When the Na'vi looked at the humans, there was something in their eyes. Not just curiosity, but something else. Something that looked almost like fear. "We have much to share," said Gul. "Much to learn from each other." Later, when the Na'vi were shown to their quarters, Tae-ho met with his team. "Did you notice how they looked at us?" he asked. Jun nodded, like they were fascinated but also scared. "They're not telling us everything," Tae-ho said. "They came here for a reason, and I don't think it's just to escape these Vorx." What Tae-ho didn't know was that in the privacy of their quarters, the Navy were having their own conversation. "Are these truly the ones?" asked one of the Na'vi. "The ones the ancient warning spoke of?" Gul touched a crystal on his wrist, projecting an image of human DNA next to another, more complex structure. "There is no doubt," said Gul. "These are the descendants, and they have no idea what they truly are." "Then we must be very careful," said another. "For if they ever wake up, Everything will change. The Vorex ships fired their weapons. Beams of energy shot toward Earth. Everyone at Unity Base watched in horror. There was nothing they could do to stop it. But then something amazing happened. The energy beams slowed down. They dimmed. Then they stopped completely, hanging in space like frozen lightning. "How is this possible?" asked the Vorex commander, his red scales turning pale. On the command deck of Unity Base, Taiho stood with his arms raised. His whole body glowed with blue light now. Beside him, Sangwon's hands were surrounded by golden energy. Haijin floated a few inches off the ground, her hair moving as if in water. Jisu's eyes had turned a bright silver color. "We remember," said Taiho, his voice echoing strangely. "Not everything yet, but enough." With a simple gesture, he sent the frozen energy beams back toward the Vorex ships. They hit with stunning force, disabling but not destroying the alien vessels. Across Earth, more humans were awakening. Powers that had been sleeping for millions of years were coming alive. In New York, a young woman stopped a falling construction crane with her mind. In Cairo, a teacher created a shield of energy to protect children from a building collapse. In Tokyo, a bus driver lifted a car off a trapped person with impossible strength. Some alien ships tried to flee. Others joined the Vorex, attacking Earth out of fear. But a third group, led by the Na'vi, moved to defend the human planet. "They are not what the warning said," Gol told the other aliens. "Yes, they are awakening, but they are not destroying. They are protecting." The battle in orbit was unlike anything seen before in the galaxy. Human abilities grew stronger by the minute. Some could control energy. Others could move objects with their minds. Some could even bend space itself, moving ships thousands of miles in an instant. At Unity Base, Elder Mock approached Taiho carefully. "You are remembering who you were," said the old Na'vi. "What you were?" Taiho nodded. Images flashed in his mind. A civilization of beings with powers beyond imagination. Cities that floated in the sky. People who could shake matter with a thought. "We were so powerful," said Taiho. "Too powerful." "Yes," said Elder Mock. "Your ancestors nearly destroyed the universe with their powers. That is why they chose to forget. To become just human." "But why are we remembering now?" asked Jisu, her silver eyes bright with questions. "The lock was never meant to be permanent," explained Elder Mock. "Just long enough for your kind to evolve, to gain wisdom, to learn how to use your powers safely." In space, the battle continued. The Vorex commander sent a message to Unity Base. "This is why we feared you," the Vorex said. "This power. It is too much for any species to have." "Maybe that was true once," replied Taiho. "But we've changed. We've learned. We've grown." To prove his point, Taiho and the other awakened humans did something unexpected. They stopped fighting. Instead, they created a shield around Earth, protecting it without harming the attacking ships. On Earth, awakened humans were not using their new powers for destruction. They were saving lives, healing the sick, protecting the weak, rebuilding what was broken. "Do you see?" Gul asked the alien coalition. "They are not the destroyers from the ancient warnings. They have changed." The battle slowly ended. The Vorex ships retreated. Many of the alien vessels remained, watching in wonder as humans continued to awaken across the planet. At Unity Base, Taiho looked out at Earth through a window. He could see the glow of awakened humans all over the planet, like stars on the surface. "What happens now?" asked Sangwon. Taiho turned to his friends, his blue eyes glowing softly. "Now we learn who we really are," he said, "and what we're meant to be." 1 month after the battle, Earth was a changed world. Humans with awakened abilities worked to heal the planet. They cleaned polluted oceans, restored damaged forests, and built new cities that floated in the sky. But not all humans had awakened. Many still lived normal lives, watching with wonder as their world transformed around them. At Unity Base, now expanded into a large space station, Dr. Jisoo Park made a breakthrough. She had been studying the oldest Navi records for weeks. Today, she called Tai-ho, Sang-won, and Hai-jin to her lab. "I found it," she said, her silver eyes bright with excitement. "The full truth about what we are." On her screen was an ancient text. It showed drawings of beings that looked like glowing humans, but they were doing impossible things. Creating stars, moving planets, even making new life. "Our ancestors weren't just powerful," said Jisoo. "They were like gods. They could reshape reality itself." "Then why did they give it up?" asked Hai-jin. "Why choose to forget?" Jisoo touched the screen, showing more images. These were darker. They showed conflict, destruction on a cosmic scale. "They became divided," she explained. "Some wanted to create, others wanted to control. Their war nearly destroyed everything. So they chose to forget, to become human, to save the universe," said Sang-won. "Yes," said Jisoo, "but there's more. They didn't just lock away their powers. They locked away their memories too. They chose to become mortal, limited, so they could learn what it meant to be weak, to feel pain, to die." "A second chance," said Tai-ho quietly. "They were giving themselves a second chance." "Exactly," said Jisoo. "They weren't hiding from others. They were hiding from themselves. The most terrifying thing wasn't that humans were monsters. It was that they had no idea what they were, no idea what they could become, for good or bad." Outside the window, Earth glowed with the light of awakened humans. But now they could see something new. A pattern in the lights. A balance. Humans weren't awakening randomly. They were awakening in a perfect dance of energies, maintaining balance. "We're different this time," said Hai-jin. "We learned while we were just human. We learned compassion, kindness, love. And that's why the aliens were so afraid," said Sang-won. "Not because we might destroy everything, but because we might change everything," finished Tai-ho. "Change the very rules of the galaxy." A Navi ship arrived at the station. Ghoul and Elder Mok came to meet with them. Behind them were representatives from 50 alien species. "We have come to learn," said Ghoul with a small bow. "If you will teach us." Tai-ho looked at his friends, then back at the aliens. "We're still learning ourselves, but we can learn together." The aliens seemed relieved. The fear was gone from their eyes. Now there was only wonder and hope. Later that night, Tai-ho stood alone on an observation deck, looking down at Earth. Jisoo joined him. "What are you thinking?" she asked. "About what happens next," he said. "We're just beginning to remember what we once were, but that doesn't mean we have to become that again." "We can be something new," said Jisoo. "Yes," said Tai-ho. "Something better." Across the galaxy, news spread about the humans of Earth. How they had awakened but chosen peace. How they were using their powers to heal rather than destroy. Many species still watched with caution. Some still feared, but others came to learn, to work together, to build something new. The most terrifying thing in the universe was never what humans were. It was that they had no idea. Until they chose to become something greater than their past. Something that could change everything. And now, finally awake, they would. The Vorex ship circled Mars but did not attack. After 2 tense days, they left. Captain Tai-ho and the joint team returned to Earth with their mission complete. But things had changed. The Navi treated all humans differently now. At Unity Base, Dr. Jisoo Park noticed the change too. The Navi whispered when humans walked by. They moved away when humans came too close. Something was wrong. One night, Jisoo stayed late in the communication center. She was alone when a strange message came through. It was from a Navi ship to another alien vessel. The message was not encrypted. They didn't think humans could understand their language yet. But Jisoo had been studying Navi language for months. She understood enough to be worried. The god seeds are showing signs, the message said. The human called Taiho survived radiation that would kill most species. Their dormant abilities may be waking up. The reply came quickly. Are they world eaters yet? Should we destroy them now? Not yet, the Navy responded. They are still unaware. We need more time to study them. Jesu copied the message and ran to find Taiho. He was in the medical center, still recovering from the Mars mission. What does this mean? Taiho asked after reading the message. God seeds? World eaters? Are they talking about us? I think so, said Jisoo. And I'm not the only one who found something. She called Sang-won and Haijin, who showed them the files about the sleepers. The four humans looked at each other in confusion and fear. We need answers, said Taiho. They went together to confront Gul. When they showed him what they had found, the Navi leader's skin turned a dark blue color. He was afraid. You weren't supposed to learn this yet, he said. Learn what? Demanded Jisoo. What are humans really? Gul sighed, his light dimming slightly. You are different from any species we have ever known. He touched a crystal on the wall, and a 3D image of a human body appeared, glowing with strange energy patterns. Your bodies heal at rates that should be impossible, Gul explained. You adapt to environments that would kill other species. Your brains form connections that should not be stable, yet somehow they are. That doesn't make us monsters, said Haijin. No, agreed Gul. But there is more. Your species emits energy patterns we cannot explain. Energy that, according to ancient records, can change reality itself. The humans stared at him in disbelief. That's impossible, said Sang-won. Is it? Asked Gul. How did Captain Kim survive radiation that should have killed him instantly? How do humans create art that makes others feel emotions? How do you dream things that don't exist and then make them real? That's just being human, said Taiho. No other species can do these things, said Gul. The Voreks came here because they sensed what you might become. They fear you, as do many others. What exactly are they afraid will become? Asked Jisoo. Before Gul could answer, an emergency alert sounded. Elder Mok rushed into the room. The Voreks have returned, he said. A full battle fleet. They are demanding that humans be handed over to them, or they will destroy Earth. Why? Asked Taiho. What have we done to them? Nothing yet, said Gul. It's what they fear you might do. The ancient texts call humans the unaware ones, because you have no idea what you truly are or what you could become. And what are we? Jisoo asked. Gul looked at the four humans with a mixture of fear and hope. Perhaps the most powerful beings in the galaxy, he said, if you ever fully awaken. Outside, the sky filled with Voreks ships. Time was running out. The Voreks ships stayed in Earth orbit for 3 days. They did not attack, but they did not leave either. They just watched. They're testing our defenses, said Taiho during the emergency meeting. Looking for weaknesses. Gul nodded. The Voreks are careful. They study before they attack. Finally, the Voreks ships left without explanation. But no one believed they were gone for good. 2 weeks later, a joint human Navy mission to Mars was approved. Captain Taiho would lead the human team, while Gul would lead the Navi. They needed to set up an early warning system in case the Voreks returned. The trip to Mars was quiet. Taiho noticed that Gul kept watching him when he thought Taiho wasn't looking. On the 3rd day on Mars, everything changed. Taiho was working outside with a Navi named Lin. They were setting up sensors on a rocky hill. The sun was bright in the thin Martian sky. Solar flare detected, said a voice in their helmets. Radiation spike incoming. All personnel returned to shelter immediately. Taiho looked at Lin, who was working on a difficult part of the sensor. We need to go now, Taiho said. 1 moment, said Lin. This connection must be completed. Taiho checked his wrist display. The radiation was coming fast. There wasn't time. Without thinking, Tahoe moved to cover Lin with his body, just as the wave of radiation hit them. He felt a burning pain all over, but he stayed in position, shielding the smaller Navi until the wave passed. When they got back to the shelter, Lin was unharmed, but Tahoe collapsed. His radiation exposure is beyond fatal levels, said the Navi doctor. Ren, no living being should survive this. But Tahoe didn't die. Over the next 12 hours, his body fought the radiation damage. The Navi watched in shock as his cells repaired themselves at an impossible rate. While Tahoe slept, Ren took samples of his blood and tissue. The Navi doctor ran test after test, becoming more excited with each result. It's just as the ancient texts described, Ren told Gol privately. Their bodies can repair damage that would kill any other species. But they shouldn't be able to do that yet, said Gol. Not unless they're beginning to awaken. Back on Earth, Hai Jin made a discovery that changed everything. She had been going through the data they stole from the Navi base. Most of it was in languages she couldn't read, but one file contained images and Earth English. Look at this, she told Sangwon. It's about a species called the Sleepers. The file showed beings that looked like humans, but with a strange light around them. The text described them as world shapers and reality vendors. The Sleepers chose dormancy to heal the wounds they caused in the fabric of existence. Hai Jin read, they hid their true nature even from themselves, becoming mortal and limited. But the potential remains, waiting for the day of awakening. Sangwon stared at the images. They're talking about us, aren't they? Humans are these Sleepers. On Mars, Tahoe finally woke up. The Navy were treating him differently now. They kept their distance, watching him with new fear in their eyes. What happened? Tahoe asked Lin, who sat near his bed. You should have died, said Lin simply. No species we know can survive that level of radiation, but you did. Just lucky, I guess, said Tahoe with a weak smile. Lin looked at him sadly. It is not luck, Captain Kim. It is what you are. And what am I? Asked Tahoe. Before Lin could answer, alarms blared throughout the Mars base. Vorex ships detected entering Mars orbit, announced the computer. All personnel prepare for possible attack. The truth would have to wait, but not for long. 1 month after the Navi arrived, Earth had changed. A new base was built on the moon, called Unity Base. It was where humans and the Navi would work together and learn from each other. Dr. Jisoo Park led the human science team. She was smart and careful, but also very curious. Today, she would finally get to see inside the Navi laboratory. Welcome, Dr. Park, said Gul, the Navi leader. We are ready to share some of our knowledge with you. Jisoo smiled. We are honored. My team is very excited. The Navi lab was unlike anything Jisoo had seen before. Strange devices hung from the ceiling. Lights of many colors moved through clear tubes along the walls. In the center stood a large crystal table that glowed softly. This is our star map, said Gul, touching the crystal. Suddenly, the whole room filled with stars. Jisoo gasped as a perfect model of the galaxy appeared around them. She could see Earth's small solar system, just a tiny dot in the vast space. It's beautiful, she said. Your world is here, said Gul, pointing to Earth. The Vorex Empire controls these regions. He waved his hand, and a large section of the galaxy turned red. They will reach your system within 50 of your years if they continue expanding. Jisoo frowned. Are they really so dangerous? Yes, said Gul. But there are other things in the galaxy that are more concerning. Jisoo noticed how Gul's eyes flickered toward her when he said this. Over the next few hours, the Navy showed the human team many wonders. They explained how their ships could travel faster than light. They showed materials stronger than anything on Earth. But Jisoo noticed something strange. Every time she or another human tried to give the Navi something, a blood sample, a hair strand, even a piece of paper they had touched, the Navi found a reason not to take it. During lunch, Jisoo cut her finger on the edge of a data tablet. The small cut wasn't serious, but 3 Na'vi who were nearby quickly moved away. One of them looked terrified. "I'm sorry," Jisoo said. "Is there a problem with blood?" "No problem," said Gul quickly. "Some of us are sensitive to certain chemicals." Later, Jisoo met with security officer Sangwon Lee. She had asked him to observe the Na'vi during the meeting. "Did you notice anything unusual?" she asked. Sangwon nodded. "Their monitoring equipment. It wasn't focused on the room or our technology. It was scanning us. Our bodies. Our brains." "That matches what I saw," said Jisoo. "They seem more interested in our biology than our culture or technology." "There's more," said Sangwon. "I heard 2 of them talking when they thought no one was listening. They used a phrase I haven't heard before. They called humans dormancy patterns." Jisoo frowned. "What does that mean?" "I don't know," said Sangwon, "but I'm going to find out." That night, after the human team left, Gul and his assistant Lin examined the data they had collected. "The readings are consistent," said Lin. "They show no signs of awakening yet." Gul touched the crystal table, bringing up an image of human DNA. "Look at this sequence. It's exactly as the ancient texts described. The dormant code is there, just waiting." "Should we tell them?" asked Lin. "No," said Gul firmly. "They are not ready. If they knew what they truly are, what they could become, it might trigger the awakening too soon. And if they awaken before they are ready..." Gul looked at the model of the galaxy, his expression grim. "Then we may have to destroy them to save the rest of the universe. Let us hope it doesn't come to that." Outside in the hallway, Sangwon stood frozen. He had returned to place a hidden camera, but instead heard everything. His heart pounded as he slipped away. The Na'vi were hiding something about humans. Something big. And now he needed to find out what it was before it was too late. News about Taiho's impossible feat spread quickly among the aliens. Ships from 12 different species now orbited Earth. They were all watching, waiting to see what would happen next. Inside a large meeting room at Unity Base, representatives from all alien species argued loudly. "The humans must be destroyed now," said the Vorix commander, a tall being with red scales, "before more of them awaken." "They have done nothing wrong," argued Gul. "They don't even know what they are." "That is what makes them so dangerous," said another alien, with 6 eyes and blue skin. "They have power they cannot control." While the aliens argued, strange things were happening on Earth. In a hospital in Seoul, a doctor named Shumin was treating a child with a badly broken arm. As she looked at the injury, wishing with all her heart that she could heal it faster, her hands began to glow. The child's bone healed in seconds. In London, a firefighter named Kai was trapped in a burning building. As the flames came closer, he felt something change inside him. Suddenly, he could move through the fire without being burned. All across Earth, humans in extreme situations were discovering abilities that should be impossible. Enhanced strength, accelerated healing, control over fire, water, even electricity. Back at Unity Base, Taiho met with Jisoo, Sangwon, and Haijin to discuss what was happening. "It's not just me," said Taiho. "Reports are coming in from all over Earth. People are changing." "I have a theory," said Jisoo. "Gul showed me more of the ancient records. They say our ancestors locked their powers away inside our DNA, but they left a key." "What key?" asked Sangwon. "Extreme stress, danger, strong emotions," said Jisoo. "When humans face life or death situations, the lock starts to break." "So the accident at the base," said Haijin. "It triggered Taiho's awakening," Jisoo finished. "And now, with the Vorix threatening Earth, more humans are awakening too." "But why now?" asked Sangwon. "Humans have faced dangers before." "The aliens," said Taiho suddenly. "Their technology, their presence. Gul said our ancestors locked their powers away to protect the universe. Maybe being around alien technology is like a key that starts to unlock the door. As they talked, alarms sounded throughout the base. The Vorex ships were moving into attack position. "They're going to attack," said Hyjin. "We're out of time." On the command deck, humans and friendly aliens prepared for battle. Earth's weapons were no match for the Vorex fleet. Everyone knew it was a fight they could not win. "We should give them what they want," said one Earth leader. "Hand over some humans for study." "No," said Taeho firmly. "We are not sacrificing anyone." As he spoke, something strange happened. The lights in the room flickered. The air seemed to bend around Taeho. People felt a wave of something coming from him. Not quite energy, not quite thought. Something new. "Captain Kim," said Gol quietly. "Your eyes." Taeho's eyes had changed. They glowed with a soft blue light. "I can feel it," said Taeho. "The power. It's like it was always there, just waiting." All around the room, other humans began to feel it too. A buzzing in their minds, a warmth in their bodies. Power awakening. On the main screen, they watched as the Vorex ships prepared to fire their weapons. Earth had minutes, maybe seconds. "What do we do?" asked Jisoo, her own eyes beginning to glow slightly. Taeho looked at his hands. Small arcs of energy danced between his fingers. "We remember," he said simply. "We remember what we once were." Across Earth, millions of humans looked up at the sky as a strange feeling washed over them. Something ancient, something powerful, something that had been sleeping for a very, very long time. The awakening had begun. Sang-won couldn't sleep. What he had heard the Na'vi say about humans kept running through his mind. He needed help from someone he could trust. Early the next morning, he found Hyjin Kang in her workshop. She was the best space engineer at Unity Base. Her hands were covered in grease as she fixed a small robot. "I need your help," Sang-won said, closing the door behind him. "But you can't tell anyone." Hyjin wiped her hands on a cloth. "What's wrong?" Sang-won told her everything he had heard. Hyjin's eyes grew wider as he spoke. "Dormant code. Awakening," she said. "What does that even mean?" "I don't know," said Sang-won. "But I think the Na'vi have secrets, and I need your help to find them." Hyjin thought for a moment. "There's a maintenance tunnel that runs near their private quarters. We could place sensors there." For the next week, Sang-won and Hyjin worked in secret. They placed tiny cameras and listening devices in areas where the Na'vi thought they were alone. At night, they watched and listened to what they captured. "Look at this," said Hyjin on the fifth night. She pointed to her screen, which showed a small Na'vi ship leaving Unity Base. "Where is it going?" asked Sang-won. They tracked the ship as it moved to the far side of the moon, where humans rarely went. There it joined 3 other Na'vi ships that were hidden in a crater. "They've been keeping ships hidden from us," said Sang-won. The next day, they borrowed a small maintenance craft. They told the flight control they needed to check some equipment. Instead, they flew to the crater on the far side of the moon. What they found shocked them. The Na'vi had built a hidden base. Strange devices pointed toward Earth, collecting data. "Can you hack into their system?" Sang-won asked. Hyjin nodded. She connected her tablet to a small panel outside the base. After several minutes, she asked, "Sang-won, look at this. They're monitoring everything about humans. Brain waves, DNA, even our emotions." Before they could learn more, an alarm sounded. They quickly returned to their craft and left. Meanwhile, back at Unity Base, Dr. Jisoo Park was meeting with Captain Taeho Kim. They had their own concerns. 3 more alien ships entered our solar system yesterday," said Taeho. "They say they want to trade with Earth. But it's strange that they all arrived so soon after the Na'vi." "I think they're coming to see us," said Jisoo. "The humans. Every alien species that arrives watches us the same way, with fear and fascination." Just then, the door opened. Gul entered with another Na'vi they hadn't seen before. "This is Elder Mok," said Gul. "He has traveled far to meet humans." Elder Mok stared at Taiho and Jisoo with 6 eyes that changed color as they watched. "Remarkable," said Elder Mok. "So these are the ones from the ancient warnings. They look so ordinary." Gul coughed loudly. "Elder, perhaps we should discuss this in private." But Jisoo had heard enough. "Ancient warnings? What warnings?" Elder Mok looked confused. "You haven't told them. They don't know what they are." "Know what?" demanded Taiho. Before Gul could answer, an alarm blared. A voice came over the speakers. "All personnel. Unknown ships have entered Earth orbit. They are not responding to communication. Defense systems activating." Gul's face changed color to a pale blue. "The Vorx. They found us sooner than we expected." Taiho stood up. "We need to prepare defenses." "It won't matter," said Elder Mok, looking at the humans with sad eyes. "Unless they awaken, we are all doomed." As they rushed to the command center, Sang-won and Hai-jin were returning from their secret mission. They had discovered one more thing in the Navi database, images of an ancient civilization that looked remarkably like humans, but with powers that seemed impossible. The pieces were starting to come together, but time was running out. Earth's leaders met to discuss the Vorx threat. They had only 24 hours to decide. Fight a war they couldn't win, or hand over some humans to the Vorx. "We need to know everything," said the United Nations Secretary to Gul. "No more secrets." While the meeting happened, Sang-won and Hai-jin went back to the hidden Navi base on the far side of the moon. They needed to find more answers in the Navi archives. "Look for anything about these ancient warnings," Sang-won told Hai-jin. They worked fast, downloading all the files they could find. Most were in languages they couldn't read, but some had been translated to simple Earth languages. "I found something," said Hai-jin after an hour. She pointed to her screen. The file showed images of a civilization that had existed millions of years ago. They looked almost human, but with a strange glow around them. The text called them world shapers, who could bend reality through their will. "This civilization ruled the galaxy," Sang-won read. "But then they disappeared. They left warnings about their return." "Are they saying that these beings became us?" asked Hai-jin. "Humans?" Before Sang-won could answer, they heard a noise. Someone was coming. They quickly hid behind some equipment. 2 Navi entered, talking quickly. "The humans must never find these archives," said one. "If they learn about their ancestors, it might trigger the awakening." "What if they already know too much?" asked the other. "Then we may need to help the Vorx," said the first one sadly. "One planet is a small price to save the galaxy." After the Navi left, Sang-won and Hai-jin looked at each other in horror. "We need to get back to Earth," said Sang-won. Now, at Unity Base, a terrible accident happened. A small meteor hit one of the oxygen tanks. The explosion damaged the life support systems. Many people were trapped in a section that was losing air fast. Taiho ran to help. The door to the damaged section was jammed. People were dying inside. "We need cutting equipment," shouted Jisoo. "Hurry." Taiho pushed against the door. It wouldn't move. He thought about the people dying inside. His friends. In that moment, something changed inside him. He didn't understand what was happening. He just knew he needed to save them. He pushed again, and this time, he felt something new. A power he had never felt before. The air around his hands began to shimmer. The metal of the door seemed to become lighter, as if gravity itself was changing. With one final push, the door moved, metal bending like it was made of clay. Everyone stared at Taiho in shock. What he had done should have been impossible. "How did you do that?" whispered Jisoo. Taiho looked at his hands. They looked normal now. "I don't know. I just wanted to save them so badly." Gul had seen everything. His face showed fear and wonder. "It's beginning," he said. "The awakening." Later, In a private room, Gol showed Tai-ho and Ji-Soo the full archives. He had decided to tell them everything. Long ago, a species ruled the galaxy, he explained. They had powers beyond imagination. They could shape matter with their thoughts, create energy from nothing, even change the laws of physics in small ways. What happened to them? Asked Ji-Soo. They nearly destroyed everything, said Gol. Their powers grew too strong. Reality itself began to break around them. And you think these beings are our ancestors? Asked Tai-ho. Gul nodded. They found a solution. They locked away their powers and memories, becoming a new species. Simple, limited, safe. Humans, said Ji-Soo. Yes, said Gol, but the lock is breaking. Humans are starting to remember what they once were, what they could be again. Outside, the Vorek ships moved closer to Earth. Time was running out. And across the planet, more humans were beginning to feel strange new abilities stirring within them.